seeing all the people that came out, seeing all the prize support, seeing all the people, the player support. So looking forward to keeping it going.
Oh, for sure. In November? Yeah, I'll definitely be back at the one in November. My friend Chet won the raffle, so that was cool.
I just won that raffle for $1,000, and this is going to help out a lot.
All right.
We're here. It's
Top
time.
8.
Big time. The sweats are over. New sweats begin. The
Looks
Pro
like we got
Support TCG Weekend.
It's almost at the end. It's almost at the end.
20k modern tournament is quite awesome that we can still do these.
All the marbles.
We have our first and 8th seed match that we're going to be featuring here. So we're going to go ahead and head down to the feature match so we can cover this. What I think is a pretty exciting matchup. There's going to be 2 wildly different strategies. We have a sort of low to the ground, tempo aggressive deck in blue-red being played by Mac, and Bring to Light Scapeshift being played by OZ.
Yeah, and we just had Mac on our last feature match, and he pulled it out with the sweet Blood Moon tech. Looks like that'll work in this matchup as well, so it'll be interesting to see if that's enough juice for him to get over the finish line, or, you know, if the toolbox of Bring to Light can just get around whatever he needs to, really.
Yeah, I'm checking out this Bring to Light list here, and it is looking like he's rocking 4 Prismatic Ending, which will be very efficient answers to these low threats, but it will not be a good answer to Murktide region.
Well, it looks like we start off with a Dragon Rage Channeler. That's going to be really good for Mac. He's going to be able to filter his cards and get some early pressure on the Bring to Light deck. He shocked in his Steam Vents, so it looks like that just sets him up right in prime range for that 6 land Scapeshift. So both players are kind of where they want to be. Turn 1, we're going to see what OZ does. Probably, I'm going to guess some sort of nothing or ramp.
Well, here's some interesting things to keep in mind about our Scapeshift player. He has 4 Dryad of the Assylian Grove, so he will be able to go off on 6 with that in play, and it will be way more than 18 damage. Now, right now, since he shocked it down to 18, since Max shocked to 18, he could die without the Dryad at 7 lands, 6 mountains. So that's something to keep in mind as far as this game is developing. I think he just kind of recognizes that. I'm not 100%, his awareness of what could happen there. But at this point, 4 Dryads are both going to accelerate him and help him fix his colors.
All right, Mac with the Mishra's Bauble, trying to set some up. He's trying to decide how valuable Lightning Bolt really is in this, and it's not really that great. So he's right to go ahead and discard that with the Delirium.
So I've been checking it out here, and it looks like the answers to Murktide Regent could be Teferi Time Reveler, Valky, God of Lies, which would really be the Cosmic Imposter side,
right?
Or Supreme Verdict. So these are the real answers to it. But with Bring to Light, that's many copies.
Now, there's a concept in Magic called Who's the Beatdown? That's where if you are a deck that is not hard control or aggro, you have to figure out what your role is in a matchup. Here, Mac is clearly identified. He's the Beatdown. He's the aggressive deck. So he's trying to fill his graveyard, get that Dragon Rage Channeler to a 3/3 so he can start ending the game a little bit faster. You don't want to give this Bring to Light deck a lot of time to set up its different wins.
Yeah, the blue-red deck's pretty much always going to be the beatdown in all of its matchups against this kind of strategy, but I think it's going to try to prioritize its counter spells to stop either Teferi or the Scapeshift, because those are the big hitters. Most of the other spells are facilitators or defensive. And honestly, if I had to pick a favorite, I'm probably going to pick Mac. I mean, he's on the play. He's the aggressive deck. And when we look at what's already happened, he's already got his attacker on the battlefield. He's cast a lot of spells, filling his graveyard up for an early Murktide. This is kind of reminding me of Gurmag Angler, right? You can get turn 2, turn 3 Gurmag Angler and just beat him down really fast, but Murktide way faster clock than Gurmag Angler.
Well, you gotta be careful though. You don't want to overextend into a board wipe or anything like that. All right, looks like Ozzy's going for a turn 2 play here. Gonna be an Explore.
Yeah, finally getting some ramp going on. Like, it's weird because we were only in the first 2 turns of the game, but it felt like Mac was just doing so many things, and then his opponent was just like, land, go.
All right, so we got a Triumph from Ozzy, and then we've got Mac drawing, looking at his options.
It's the Surveil. That's really what it is.
Yeah, the Surveil's going to do work. At least getting those cards that are just not that great in the matchup out of the way. That way you can get closer to that Murktide Regent, closer to finishing the game. All right, we got a Bobble. He's going to use it on himself. Surveil.
Yeah, he's resolving the Surveil trigger. I don't know if he's going to use Bobble on himself or not. I'm going to guess probably not, because he has all these Surveil triggers. You don't really need to do the quasi scry when you get a superior scry.
That is definitely true. Just filtering, getting cards in your hand.
Let me see. I saw a Murktide there. We're going to see Big Boy come down. That's going to be a fast clock.
Yeah, he's probably going to attack, get the 3 damage in. Just because you don't want to give up the chance, because if you lose the Delirium off the dome, you don't want to lose the chance to get that 2 damage in. You're the aggressive deck. You've got to press your advantage right now.
Yeah, I'm trying to think. So the clock isn't super fast yet. If you can get the Murktide down, which I'm almost certain he's going to do, if the Scape Shift player can set up a Supreme Verdict and get him like down to 2 cards, I think he can pull back and win. But being on the draw is a big deal. Like, it's going to make a big difference. It might be the difference in this game.
I don't know. I actually think the Bring to Light deck should be favored here just because it has so many tools. But we've seen the aggressive start here from Mac. That's really going to change things.
I would like to think so too. If he can get to like turn 5, I'll feel like a good position here.
All right, Mac attacks with the Dragon Rage Chandler. Like I said, getting that 3 damage in, because he's probably going to lose his Delirium here when he plays this Murktide Regent. And he chooses to pass. Oh, so he's slow rolling.
He might have some counter spells. He's definitely scared of Teferi. I think Teferi can be hard to deal with, and he has one in his hand too.
All right, here we go. We're running out the Teferi, most likely. Yep, Teferi.
Now, do you big brain and save it for Murktide, or do you bounce the Chandler now?
Oh, well, yeah, I think you save it, because even if he swings into it, you plus it, go to 2, but it's not going to matter.
Yes,
he's got that
holding up that
Charm.
Archmage Charm.
Gets that Surveil off.
And that's going to get countered. There's no way to answer this right now. Force Negation only works on your opponent's turn.
I wonder if Ozzy was thinking that ahead of time, and he's got like a better plan, and he knew he was going to counter this Teferi, and he's trying to set something else up.
Oh, he's got a Brazen Borrower too. He's got a lot of answers. Now, Brazen Borrower is not going to be very good against Valakut, but it can be good as an attacker. Just get the game over with faster.
Definitely.
Our players being tied at 16 here, it's going to start pulling in the favor of Mac as he turns those creatures sideways.
That's what you want to do in this matchup for sure. We got a sleight of hand with the Surveil. That's almost a Ponder. Almost. Really thinking hard. He's going in the tank. I mean, he's clearly attacking.
It seems to be mostly about, do I want to play this Murktide now or do I want to wait? He doesn't have any counters. I'm not sure. I could see an argument for both. No, he decides to dash.
Ragavan.
I can see that. It accelerates too.
Speeds the clock up.
But we're about to be on Bring to Light mana. Oh no, that's the one Supreme Verdict.
When you were going to top deck the answer you needed, and they just take it with piracy. That is rude. That is neither kind nor courteous.
I'm trying to understand the flavor of stealing a sorcery. Like, if you go and you pull a thought out of their mind,
I mean, in a way.
Ragavan's dash is good against board wipes too. That's another thing. Got to respect the dash. The funny thing about Ragavan is, like, if it didn't have dash, it would still be really good. But Dryad is an excellent blocker here. 4 toughness. The fact that Dryad is Prismatic Omen and Explore on a 2/4 body, I mean, how much more can you ask for?
Well, so the interesting thing here, I don't think we can see Ozzy's hand very well. if he just has the raw scape shift, I mean, he's 2 turns. I don't know.
He's a little short
He's 2 turns. I don't know.
He's a little short on mana. He didn't get a land drop there. He needs 6 lands to make scape shift work.
Yeah, he's got 4, so he's got 2 turns. Got this expressive iteration from Mac, trying to find more juice, because what I'm seeing here is that even if he keeps dashing, or even if he lands a Murktide Regent here, I don't know that he kills him in one more swing. So that means if he goes landscape shift, game over.
So here's something I like. So OZ is at 11. If he untaps attacks go, he can nothing important happens. He can instead bring in the Brazen Borrower, or he can petty theft and bring it in if he has the untap mana, and then he can untap dash the Ragavan and attack for 8. It's still not quite lethal. He might need like a bolt or something.
Attacking for 3, just getting in there.
So what's interesting is he obviously could have blocked, but I don't think he wants to risk losing this Dryad because he's saying, I need the speed to win this game. I need the fast Valakut.
Pretty sure he gets flying at Delirium.
Oh, he does have flying.
Yeah,
that is right. That is right. Anyway. So, and he has to attack too, right? So that's not really much of a thought process there. Delirium is online.
Engineered explosives for 2.
It looks like for 0. I think he's just doing it to surveil.
That could be an option as well.
I don't know. He's not moving any dice.
So probably what we're going to see, unless we see a Murktide Regent, he's probably going to attack with the Dragon Rage Chandler next turn, gets him to 5, and then the next turn he dashes back in Ragavan, and that's the lethal attack. Yeah. Because you don't want to overextend your swings when you have sort of a guaranteed 3-turn clock. If it doesn't speed the clock up, don't spend the mana, don't waste the tempo. But he does have counter spell mana up, so this is going to be interesting here.
Not having that Supreme Bird is kind of annoying, but he only has the 1
5
creature
mana, Bring Delight.
Let's see, he could get Valky here, he could get Omnath. Omnath seems good. If he has a land drop, he can gain some life, make some mana.
And you see Mac thinking about this. This is really the power of that card, is because they have to think about what are you going to get. Do I want to waste a counterspell?
So really, his options, realistically, are Omnath and Valky. I don't really see anything else he could get here that would impact the board. You can't get Planeswalkers. I'm going to say, Omnath, definitely.
Omnath, the big elemental.
I don't know if he has a land in his hand, but if he doesn't, he gets a draw off Omnath to try to find it. And if he finds that land, gain 4 life. That'll cushion him since he's at 7 right now. Oh, he did. He found a fetch land. That's perfect. That's exactly what he needed. So now he's going to get 2 Omnath triggers if he wants it to get mana this turn, or he can wait till next turn and get another 4 life. So that puts him up to 11. So he's going to go ahead and use it. He must want this mana for something. And if that something is another Bring Delight, I think that's going to be the end of this game.
Definitely. Unless he counters it.
Well, he didn't exile or discard the 1 scape shift, I don't think. So he should still be good to do that.
Okay, fetch on the stack. He goes ahead and bounces the Omnath.
Oh, yeah, the Brazen Borrower that's been hiding out in his hand. He's going to use the Petty Theft. And that will, if resolved, stop the ability, stop him from having access to the ability, because it'll remove the Omnath before the land enters the battlefield. That's why, being able to resolve the fetches is important.
Honestly, gaining that 4 life, though, is going to go a long way.
I mean, I want to say so, but at this point, that was the difference between dying. And I think you saw that. He's like, oh, you're at 6 mana and you're about to make 5 mana? No, thank you.
Right. All right, so he gets that Breeding Pool into play tapped. So next turn, Scape Shift is lethal.
Yeah.
And Ozzy's sitting at a cool 10 life.
Pretty sure those Surveils are going to be digging for the counterspells.
Yeah. But you see how quickly this can change with a card like Omnath from Bring to Light? I mean, it's just so much free value. Expressive iteration. So he's looking for a counterspell.
He's got Ragavan and 2 of the red cards. I can't really tell.
You gotta love it when you're kind of a control player and the aggressive player is like trying to dig and you're just sitting there tapped out, because you're now the aggressive player. This is where that dynamic has changed. It's kind of shifted because now Mac has to have the answers because he knows that Ozzy's threatening to end the game next turn.
Yeah, he's got found the counterspell. The problem is
he revealed it.
Yeah, but it matters. So I'm looking at the Bring the Light players. I don't see any main board counterspells. So counterspells, if you don't have a Teferi in play, will answer what you're doing.
Yeah, see, that's I almost reminisce about the old days when they actually played the commands. That way they could have some good counter spells main board. But
yeah, man, 4-mana counter spells. You don't see those much anymore. I mean, Cryptic Command does still see some play, but not the powerhouse it used to be.
All right, Ozzy's sitting in a weird situation. He knows his opponent has an answer to whatever he's going to play.
Well, actually, I don't think Express Federation lets you play it through the end of the next turn. So I wonder what that implies. If he did,
he's
put
going
in his
for
hand.
it. He's got 1 mana up.
If he chose not to put Counterspell in his hand, he must have a second one, right? Yes,
Yeah.
he does. Okay. So that will stop it. There are no answers in the main board for this Spring Delight player.
All right, we're in a sticky situation now again. You're kind of just throwing your spells at your opponent, hoping they blink and run out of answers.
That pesky 7 life that OZ is at means it's a 3-turn clock.
Well, unless he's got a Lightning Bolt. He can dash in Ragavan and Lightning Bolt if his opponent doesn't block. But
He's probably going to block. If it's life or death, he's going to block.
and he's at that 7 lands now, so he doesn't actually need the Dryad.
Yeah, he does not.
All right, going to 4. Does Mac have another counterspell?
I think it's Murktide Regent and double Ragavan. That Murktide Regent just been kind of sitting there, but this will close the turn. He has to play now. So he's just going to... I don't think he has any counters in his hand, so he's just finger crossing. Please let me untap.
Yeah, it's never a good situation to be in.
But I'm not certain that he has another Bring to Light.
Well, he might not need it. He might just be able to hard cast something.
You know what would have been good? It wasn't worth the risk because I don't think he knows his list. But if he would have let him get the Scape Shift and counter that, he would have been out of gas. There would have been nothing left. So, interesting choice, but sometimes something like Supreme Verdict comes down or something that maybe the counter wouldn't have been good against, and it wasn't worth the risk. So I don't blame him for... I understand countering Bring to Light, but I'm already trained to see what they get first. Sometimes it's burnt me, sometimes it was good. He also doesn't know for sure he's only playing the one Scape Shift.
That is true. This is not open builds top 8 like you would normally expect. So Mac isn't 100% sure if there's another Scape Shift coming at him or not. You got an 8/8 Murktide. That's a big boy. Is he looking over the graveyard, trying to see, okay, what are the chances he draws Lightning Bolt here? What are my outs? What can I do? Another Murktide Regent.
Seems like that's a
little bit overkill, yeah.
But I think he's thinking right now, well, I can't be a Scape Shift, but I still could lose to removal. So if I have 2 big game-ending threats, it kind of makes him have one or the other.
On the flip side, though, it puts him in sort of an overextended position, whereas if he does have... This is almost telegraphing, I don't have a counterspell.
Because it's tapping out, too, yeah.
Yeah. Well, I mean, Force of Negation's a card. I don't think I see it here in Mac's main board. But at the same time, you're basically telling him, look, here are my big flyers. What I'm going to do is try to make sure you die next turn, unless you can answer all of this. But if there is some sort of board wipe, then he's in a bad spot.
Yeah, he saw that he lost a Supreme Verdict, but he doesn't know for sure it's the only one. Okay, well, what do we have?
Plenty of lands. He's got all the mana he needs. No Blood Moon or anything. Blood Moon is probably coming in for Mac in Game 2. That was his strategy to beat Death Shadow a round ago. Wouldn't be surprised if he doesn't get Omnath.
Okay, that is a redraw.
It's a redraw.
Oh, is that it?
We know he's got a land.
I see Renin 6. That's not very good here. The life gain off of Omnath isn't very relevant here. OZ is at 4 life. So even if he goes to 8, that's not going to cushion him from those big Murktides.
Oh,
he didn't have it.
And OZ's
have it.
scooping
Game
up.
number 1 is going to go to Mac. Blue-Red takes it again. It is considered the best deck for a reason.
Yep, when you can throw a bunch of big flyers on the board, that's what happens.
So let's go ahead and go back here to the booth. We'll take a look at their sideboards and see what would be a good idea for them. So for our Valakut player, we have 1 Anger of the Gods, 3 Chalice of the Void, 1 Crumble to Dust, 2 Endurance, 2 Force of Vigor, 3 Mystical Dispute, 2 Sunset Revelry, and 1 Unmoored Ego. For Blue-red, we've got 1 Hercules Recall, 1 Prismari Command, 2 Engineered Explosives, 2 Force of Negation, 2 Flusterstorm, 2 Blood Moon, 2 Jace the Mind Sculptor, 1 Torpor Orb, and 2 Mystical Dispute.
You know, I almost think as the blue-red player, you're going to want to bring in your counter magic and Blood Moon, because obviously Blood Moon is pretty good against a deck that relies on having all those colors and all those different land types. And that way you can just, especially the Force Negation, you can just tap out, put all your stuff on the board, and have that counter spell for that one key spell they're going to play on the next turn.
He has 6 counter spells to bring in, so that's going to make a big difference. And Blood Moon, 4-color deck, seems pretty straightforward.
Yeah, sometimes though you don't want to over sideboard. He may not bring in all of those. I think Mystical Dispute and Force Negation are pretty good. Flusterstorm, not as good, because as you're seeing, he just kind of plays one big thing a turn.
Yeah.
So I'm not so sure Flusterstorm is going to be that great on a deck that ramps to 8 lands a lot of the time.
There's not a good answer to Flusterstorm, though. I mean, if you don't have Teferi, you can't really counter Flusterstorm back.
Yeah.
Like, it's pretty good. So if I'm Bring the Light, honestly, there's not a whole lot here. I guess the 3 Mystical Dispute.
I don't feel like counterspell is what you want to be doing right now in this match.
Yeah.
I feel like you want to be.
But the fact that being able to spend 1 mana to stop a Murktide Region is pretty nice. But other than that, yeah, it seems kind of they're playing 1-drops.
Yeah.
So that's tough. Maybe a better thing to look at is what is bad. Fire Ice is okay if you can do it on turn 2.
Yeah.
But other than that, I'm not. Most of the core of the deck is strong. Like, you can't really cut your ramp. You can't cut Supreme Verdict or.
Well, the little guys are kind of a problem. Really, the only thing that ends the game, as we were seeing, is the Murktide Regent. So, what answers does he have in his Murktide, 2 Murktide Regent in his deck there?
Well, if you want to answer it after it's already on the battlefield, there's not much. I mean, you've got Teferi and Supreme Verdicts.
Yeah.
So we'll see how that plays out. Honestly, I would like to say I think Bring the Light's favored because he was real close to winning that game many times over, and he was on the draw.
Yeah.
So if he has a good draw, I'd like to think he's favored. But I mean, Blue Red's up a game. It just has the way to pull a win out of nowhere.
Yeah.
So
has a lot of answers to combine with his clock. Those tempo. Tempo is always been a really strong type of deck. I mean, you look at Legacy with the Delver. You look Vintage has a Delver deck that's really good.
Delver's been like the best deck forever.
Yeah, I mean, Modern just has, Ragavans and, Murktide Regions. It's the same thing. You're putting a lot of clock out there. You're backing it up with a lot of answers that are dynamic and flexible. So it's going to be interesting to see. I really think Bring to Light matchup-wise is favored here. And you did see, like Aaron was saying, you did see a lot of options where he was just, like, right there to win. And the red-blue player had to have all those answers when he had them to, capitalize on that. So
I think he navigated his choices really well. There's a few times he did a few things. I'm like, it's complicated, but I saw where he was going and how it kind of worked out. It did involve one lucky turn. He had to please don't have it. That's just the way it is with a deck like Scapeshift, or any deck that goes over the top.
You got to remember also that one of Supreme Verdict off the top, that would have changed that game completely. So that's where the luck comes in. Sometimes you get them, sometimes you get got.
Part of the game, though, right?
Yeah, I mean it is, but it's always unfortunate when you lose a game you probably should win because they just got that one lucky draw or they hit one lucky card off your deck. This is maybe why you don't play one-ofs. I mean, I know you have those tutors, but
except for that last turn where you had double Murktide, I don't think Supreme Verdict was like super great at any point in the game anyway. It was always like one guy. It's just the Dragon's Rage Channeler.
Yeah.
So it's weird how that kind of folded out. But looks like they are starting to resolve the mulligan. So we'll head back down to the booth and see what sideboard cards they chose to put in because that could make the difference in this game.
Looks like there's some
one well-timed sideboard card like a Blood Moon at the right time could just end the game.
Okay, Ozzy is going down to 6.
Yeah, I didn't like what he saw there. You're probably looking for acceleration. You're on the play. You want to capitalize on it. You want to find your explorers. You want to find your dryad.
Yeah. Another little interesting thing to deal with the Murktide Regent would be Graveyard Hate. Is there like a Relic of Progenitus in there?
He has 2 endurance. So endurance is good because you can just cast it, and he's got a good body. He can block. He's got 4 toughness. You can surprise him and be like, "Hey, that's a Dragon's Rage Channel. I have reach." Dead.
Looks like Ozzy brought in a Chalice of the Void. Chalice on 1 is going to be a problem.
So let's
Chalice
see. Chalice
on 2
1
is going to be a big problem.
Let's see. Chalice on 1 stops Ragavan, Dragon's Rage Channeler, Thought Scour, Sleight of Hand, Spell Pierce, Unholy Heat, Lightning Bolt. I have a feeling Lightning Bolt might have come out though.
Yeah, I feel like you take it out in this matchup too.
But if you took out Lightning Bolt to bring in Flusterstorm, that's a good answer to Flusterstorm.
It is, yeah.
I wonder if that's like super Galaxy Cluster Brain.
Well, he's got one chance to Flusterstorm that Chalice, and that's when he plays it.
No. You don't Flusterstorm the Chalice. You can't do that. If Chalice is on 1, it counters Flusterstorm.
Yeah.
So Flusterstorm is being played by...
All right, so we got Breeding Pool tapped into a Shocked Steam Vents, but nothing. So he must be holding that up for Thought Scour.
It's Flusterstorm.
Yeah, that or Flusterstorm.
I'm calling it now.
He
does have Spell Pierce, so...
Is he just aware of the Chalice? There's a Chalice.
Oh, this is going to be Spell Pierce. Oh my gosh, it is so good. Dude, he is at like... He's at like the Lani Ikea Super Cluster braining right now.
Yeah. I mean, he just guessed that the Chalice was coming, and
that's easily worth going to 18 for. Yeah, Max goes 18. He's like, you know what I have. Are you going to play it? And then he's just like, I'm going to disrespect you.
Hey, you got to make him have it sometimes, right? Like, if he just held off and was trying to protect it too much, when you're in the tempo matchup...
You're going to 18 against Skip Shift. You have something.
Yeah, for sure. Or at least you want them to think that. That's where the gameplay comes
That's how much respect he has for Chalice.
Oh, looks like we're going to shock in a Sacred Foundry.
All right, so now both players are 18. And,
probably get a Dryad down.
The specific number 18, more important for Mac because he knows that Scape Shift can take him out in one turn. That turn could even be next turn.
You know, his Dryad is just doing everything right now. It ramped him, it gives him all the colors he needs, and it can block this Ragavan.
Yeah, no, Dryad's an amazing card. Can he even afford to spend mana right now? He could just die next turn, for all he knows.
Yeah, definitely. Okay, looks like we got a Fire and Ice and one other card I can't
it's a Planeswalker. Looked like a Planeswalker.
Looks like a Teferi, yeah.
It could be Teferi or Ren 6, but it did look white. So he did keep in his Unholy Heat, probably for those Dryads, but as you can see, not very good right here. Might be getting a game 3. Okay, right. So it was a Ren 6, but none of his lands were fetch lands, so that Ren 6 is not accelerating it.
I wonder if he's got one in his hand. It's going to be his land for turn, and then be able to get it back for next turn. Keep that land going. Oh, and an Archmage Charm.
Okay, so he did respect the fact that he might have just died last turn, and it paid off because he didn't want to have to deal with the longevity that Ren 6 will provide.
Yeah, for sure.
Oh, this is really tight. Both players are like not in an optimal set of cards for the early turn, but they're also staying in the game.
You're seeing the prices at Mulligan on Ozzy's side now. He's like a control deck, and he's really low on resources right now.
Anytime a Valakut deck mulligans, you feel it.
Yeah. It really sucks too now because what you're seeing is Mac is just, okay, I'll expressive iteration, I'll dig around, I'll see what I can do. Maybe I miss a land drop, but it looks like he's got an island in his hand. He's just gravy right now. I mean, that Ragavan's not really good. It can't like attack into this Dryad, but he can just sit back. He can just chill. He can accumulate resources because he's way ahead in the resource department over his opponent. And it looks like that's what's happening. Another Ragavan. Now, unfortunately, Ragavan is legendary, so he cannot come into play. But
that, ladies and gentlemen, is not what you call a non-bow because, it's just the same card. But it does not work well in multiples. So we're going to arc 1 damage, looks like.
Yep. Fire and Ice. Cast on the fire side.
Is this worth fighting over?
I mean, I don't know. I don't know if he's trying to psych him into the fact that he's going to replay the Ragavan. He got
not a big fan of fighting over that anyway.
Yeah. But that blue does show Flusterstorm. It does show Spell Pierce.
Max down to 15 at this point. His life total not super relevant. Ozzy still sitting at a comfortable 18.
Oh, there's a Prismatic Ending. This is maybe where you start to see the weakness of the red-blue decks, where they're a little bit threat light, because now, I mean, that Murktide Regent could come out. It wouldn't be super huge.
It'd be, 6/6?
1, 2, 3. Yeah, it'd be a 6/6, right, exactly.
Yeah, Prismatic Ending it answers everything but Murktide. And its flexibility for answering non-creature permanents too is just so strong.
It's amazing. You can float your mana in response to a Blood Moon. It comes into play and you Prismatic End to get it.
Well, I mean, it's sorcery, but if you do have the Terran play, yes, you can definitely do that. There is a little bit of stalling. I mean, the mulligan means he's not hitting his land drops, and our blue-red player here just doesn't have a lot of attacking power. But if he commits this, if he's worried to commit his Murktide and tap out because he knows he could just die if he has the right cards. But he found Delirium, so this will help him feel a little cushion.
Now what this does is opens him up. I believe there's a Blood Moon in Mac's hand, and getting that Dryad off the field opens him up to Blood Moon.
And he already found his double.
Oh, and he's just playing lane and passing. What is this card that OZ is sitting on?
He found double blue. If he has Blood Moon, this could be the game. Now, I'm not a judge, so I don't know my higher end technical rules, but there is a layering rule when it comes to certain things. So I'm not sure if Blood Moon comes down first and Dryad comes down second. I don't know how that works, but we'll let a judge figure that out. So he decides to go ahead and commit, feeling a little safer after getting rid of that Dryad because he's quite a ways away from a normal Valakut.
Oh, looks like
got
a 7 power.
Got a nice 2-turn clock with Max 1 at 13. But right now, if he can find one other threat, he could still potentially make it a 2-turn clock.
Yeah, I mean, Ozzy's sitting nice at 18. That Renin 6 isn't looking that impressive.
Oh, yeah, Renin 6 is...
I wonder what the card he's holding on to. I can't see. He's got the Renin 6, and there's one other. He's probably just going to get beat in the face with this Murktide.
Well, at the moment, it's a 3-turn clock, but all it takes is one more solid threat, like a Dragon's Rage Chandler. Although I don't think he has Delirium anymore. Yeah, he still has Graveyard. He doesn't have Delirium.
All right, OZ down to 11, and there's the DRC.
Okay, so if
that looks like a Scape Shift in his hand, actually.
Yeah, that's no good.
It's either Scape Shift or Endurance. I'm not 100% sure. Okay.
Okay, here's best line. If he can make Delirium and dash a Ragavan, he can win next turn.
Renin 6.
He's only at 11 life. That could potentially be the game if he's not careful. Luckily, he does not have Delirium, so he can just take out the Dragon's Rage Chandler. I'm pretty sure that this Murktide region is just going to ignore the Renin 6 at this point.
All right, so if that card in his hand is Escape Shift, he just has to not die here and draw a land. And that's it, ladies and gentlemen.
Unfortunately, he didn't draw any fetch lands. That Renin 6 can't be his land drop.
If he attacks it, it can't. But he has that fetch land in play, so he can Misty and then Renin 6 to get the Misty back.
Oh, so that's interesting, because if he has to commit to attacking Renin 6, that's a whole other turn.
Exactly. And then he could still just rip the land off the top and win. So
yeah, that is a Misty.
He's got to
Larry there.
Yeah, he's got to look for a counter spell here. That's what he's got to want to do. Plays his land. Let's see. Does Ozzy have any counter magic in his hand? It looks like he has a Flusterstorm.
He decides to ignore it like I predicted, but that could be because he does have the counter and he feels confident that he can stop Escape Shift. Now, if he sees Bring to Light, if he lets Escape Shift happen and counters it, that could just be the game.
Nah.
Who needs Escape Shift?
He's trying to bait the counter spell here.
Mystical Dispute. Omnath is a blue card. You know, had he made his land drop first, he would have been able to stop it, but that's not going to be enough. Only being at 4 life, that 7/7 Murktide region is going to get the job done. So that's going to have Mac advance to the semifinals. Congratulations to him.
Real simple strategy. Put big guys out, protect them.
Yeah, just play creatures, turn them sideways, counter your spells.
Yep.
Well, back here at the booth, Jay and I are going to take a quick break until we get to our semifinal match. We'll definitely be bringing that to you, so stay tuned for the next round. congratulations on making the finals. And you're here with Team Sharpwick. 2 of you guys made the top 4.
Did, yeah.
Very impressive showing of the team. Now, your deck choice, blue-red, Murktide, blue-red, Delver, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
So, definitely a top contender deck. I don't know if there is a best deck, but if I had to pick one, I'd probably pick this one. It's been showing up the most in the most recent MTGO deck list. I've just seen more of this than any other deck. And I'd like to think, as I've been scouting the top tables, I saw a lot of blue-white. They think they have a decent blue-red matchup. How do you feel about that?
So it's funny, I agree with them for the most part. So I actually changed my my sideboard plan. So what I started doing was I was boarding in, before I was just boarding in Blood Moons, and it was like, it's good enough usually, but you don't really have a closer because they're playing like 3 Supreme Verdicts, you know? So I started playing the Jace, and kind of the idea is to just like force them to cast Supreme Verdict so they tap out, and then you hit them with the Jace. You know, and it's nice because you can get treasures from the Ragavan, and you know, you can kind of ramp your mana up to where you can play it and protect it with a counter spell. It's quite nice.
I do like that decision. From what I saw of you this weekend, Blood Moon's carried a lot of weight. It's won you a lot of games.
It's been great.
So it looks like a relatively stock list. The only thing I kind of noticed is you decided, I don't need any Force Negation in the main board. So tell me about your decision to play this specific counterspell suite and how you kind of navigated it through the weekend.
Yeah, so I was actually on 4 counterspell for a long time. I think they're really good, but the metagame felt like it was kind of shifting towards a lot of Teferis. There's a lot of the 4-color control deck with Omnath and Teferis, and then there's blue-white control. So I was kind of trying to hedge for that. And on the draw, it's a little tough to deal with Teferi while also trying to pressure your opponent. So Spell Pierce does really good with that because you can kind of be mana efficient with it. So I just kind of counterspell for the Spell Pierce. It's kind of a hedge against Teferi mostly. And then I actually decided to play 2 Archmage's Charm and 0 Force Negation in the main deck. Also partially because the blue-white, the card disadvantage is kind of rough in game 1. You really just don't want to be pitching another card when they're trying to 1-for-1, 2-for-1 you over and over again.
Right.
And a lot of people are actually cutting Archmage's Charm, and I felt like for this tournament there was going to be a lot of hammer and blue-white, and it's just really good to draw 2 cards.
Probably the best card for both of them.
It's so good, yeah. I mean, you can take Sigarda's Aid in that matchup and all that kind of stuff. I mean, it's been really good the whole tournament.
Yeah, I definitely like the list. It looks overall very stock, but I like your unique choices in it, and it's definitely treated you very well this weekend.
Yeah, it's been great.
So,
and I actually, since we're talking about the weird card choices, I actually want to talk about the sleight of hands.
The sleight of hand was the one thing that stuck out to me. So what made you either, one, need the extra cantrip, and why'd you pick that one?
So a lot of people they're still on Serum Visions. I see 10% of people playing sleight of hand, and every time it feels, when you have a Darcy in play, the Dragon Rage Channeler, it feels like a mini expressive evolution, because you just see so many cards. It's just about a philosophy thing. It's been really
You see 3 cards, that is pretty good.
It's a lot,
really good. Well, it's an excellent deck choice. I think this deck will be around for a while, and you need to have a plan against this deck, but honestly, it plays like a Delver deck. So the plan may not be
good enough.
There's not like one card that's going to beat him.
Yeah.
But anyway, good luck in the finals,
Thank you, sir.
and I hope you have a good time playing the matchup.
Thank you.
All right, we are back for the semifinals of the Pro Sport Accessories TCG Weekend Modern 20k. It's pretty exciting. I'm ready to see how the decks are unfolding, see how the modern format's turning out at the top tables.
I'm going to predict a bunch of big guys in counterspell. That's what I've been seeing all day.
We do have deck lists here, so it looks like Ethan is playing a Yorion list. Ooh, I'm just going to call it Yorion Good Stuff. I mean, that's not the official name, but that's what I like to call it. I mean, we've got Teferi, Renin 6, Eternal Witness, Fury, Ice Fang Quaddle, Omnath, Solitude, just ramp, bolts, just good cards.
Good cards.
Outvalue your opponent. And Matthew is rocking a Luris list. It looks like Hammer Time.
Stop. Hammer Time.
So we're going to go ahead and go down to our feature match and see how this is going to play out. The higher seed, I believe, is Ethan, so he will be on the play. We'll go ahead and head down to the feature match, though, and get it. There we go. All right, so they are resolving their mulligans.
Looks like we got our Yorian player on our left. Hammer Time on our right.
Yeah, Matthew is, in fact, on Hammer Time. So with that in mind, the fact that Matthew is not on the play might give the Yorian player that much more of an advantage. Gives him time to build and find answers, make land drops.
The magic number is 5. That's what it costs to cast a Yorian. So
now I hope for his sake that he's not spending 3 mana in the first 5 turns to put Yorian in his hand. He probably wants to be developing and killing the threats. But if it turns out to be that way, best case scenario is that he just isn't being smacked by a hammer.
Well, one of the traps I could see players falling into is trying to fight the hammer. Hammer doesn't do anything if they don't have creatures. They just kill their creatures. They'll just be staring there at a bunch of hammers they can't pick up. All right, starting off with a land. One of the side effects of playing Yorian is you do have an 80-card deck. That does mean fetches take a little bit longer. So basic forest here.
Yeah, choosing only to go to 19 when he activated that fetch lane. He doesn't want to go too low and die to... I don't even know. I guess hammer usually hits pretty hard, but sometimes the tokens from that Urza Saga can create a pretty fast quant too.
That is true.
So I'm trying to think to myself, what are the priority cards I'm wanting to sequence here?
Okay, we've got an Esper Sentinel into a Mimnite, turn 1. From Ethan.
Not the absolute stone fastest turn 1. There's no what's that white enchantment called? Slipped my mind.
Cigar's Aid.
Yeah. Cigar's Aid into like 0-drop hammers. Colossus on turn 2 is like best case scenario. But you can actually still do that on turn 2. Maybe it's hiding it.
Well, what's interesting here, this Esper Sentinel is going to go a long way towards helping the Hammer Time player stay in the game and not get valued out. Because every time he plays something, he's got to pay 1 or more.
I don't think he has. I was going to say there's a good chance he could still be hit for 11 here, but he does not have the hammer. So very modest attack for 2.
But he got that Urza Saga going, and that is a massive value engine. The fact that you basically get 2 giant boys out of it, and you get to tutor for, the best card in your deck, is almost always going to be worth sacrificing a land. All right, so we're already going for the breeding pool. Turn 2, shocking it in. Ethan dropping down to 16. Looks like he's going to make a Ice Fang Quaddle play, drawing a card. Now he's got like a pretty awesome blocker to take out that Esper Sentinel. Now, all right, looks like we're going to the end of turn 2. Oh, playing a Stoneforge Mystic.
I wonder what he's going to find.
Yeah, this is probably not that complicated. He's clearly going for hammer. Sometimes you'll see him grab Shadow Spear if they've already got a pretty clogged up board because the lifelink may be more important and more of an aggressive matchup. In this matchup, it's probably going to be hammer every time.
Okay, so here's a weird question. Do you think Mjolnir is trademarked?
I don't believe it is. It's only the depiction of it that was listed in the Marvel movies because it is technically a relic of Norse mythology, so that can't really be owned as far as I'm aware.
Yeah, I wouldn't think so.
All right, we got a Utopia Sprawl coming out, trying to ramp up, trying to get to that magic 5 to 8.
That might be Abundant Harvest. I need to double check here.
Oh, it does look like it's Abundant Harvest.
I think it's Abundant Harvest.
It's kind of the same.
Well, wait, no. Utopia Sprawl accelerates you. Abundant Harvest is not. But it does draw a card. So, I mean, in a different way, it's...
all right, and we did see that really cool interaction where Spreading Seas is basically Sinkhole against Urza Saga. Because Sagas require their Saga counters to work. And so if it keeps its Saga type, but loses all of its Saga abilities, goes to the graveyard as Saga rules.
Not the most intuitive interaction, but that is how it works. Stoneforge Mystic just generating value. Now, multiple Stoneforge Mystics and multiple hammers aren't always great. As you can see, he's actually opting not to go for it because he doesn't have a clear path to use these hammers now. So building up toward a more longevity with the cranial plating is good, but the fact that he didn't pull any of the tokens off of Urza Saga means this plating's not going to hit that hard yet.
Yeah, I think he's hoping to draw another Urza Saga. That's probably his big brain plan here. But this is that point you don't really want to be his hammer time. He's in this sort of like, he's got a slow clock. He missed his third land drop. He's not really developing pressure. He's like developing resources, and this just gives Yorion time to filter through his deck, build up his mana, and set up to that one big turn where he just like blinks everything and just goes way ahead of you.
Yeah, Ethan's only at 11 life.
Not for long though.
So that means this Omnath is going to really help swing it back in his favor.
Yeah,
and
he can't.
I don't know. Does Hammer Time have an efficient way to answer this Omnath?
They could be playing Path to Exile. I don't really see them play that very much. So
I've seen a few play Dispatch, but that's not really what you want to be doing. There's a Cigar's Aid, and it could help him go over the top of this Omnath.
Yeah, it looks like we're threatening lethal next turn. I mean,
if he wants to, he could wait a turn and hope he gets a land drop and try to one-shot him with this Inkmoth, but I don't think that's what... I think you want to just get rid of this Omnath. No, he's just going for the straight damage. He's like, I don't care about your Omnath.
Right, looks like we've got an answer from the Omnath player. Playing a Subtlety. Trying to protect the Omnath. Now, the side effect of that is, now that hammer's just kind of sitting there.
Yeah, that's usually what happens. So he's going to have to find a Pure Steel Paladin, and that Pure Steel Paladin wouldn't even work right now. Omnath is looking pretty strong on this battlefield.
Gaining 4 life. What's such a beating is when they can play a fetch land on their turn and pass, and then fetch it at the end of your turn, gain another 4 life.
Yes, that is how an Omnath would do.
When one land drop out of their hand negates multiple turns of your attacks, you know you're in a bad situation.
Yeah, as it stands, it's not looking very good for the hammer player. There are outs. If he can find a Pure Steel Paladin or another hammer, better yet, he could potentially one-shot him with this Inkmoth.
Well, so the issue here you're seeing, though, is he's only got 2 cards in his hand, whereas this Yorion player has 4, and he's going to potentially draw cards off the value he gets from...
he does have the Pure Steel, but there's not quite enough artifacts. But if he gets to untap reasonably and keep all of his permanents, he can play the that cranial plating he fetched up, draw a card, and maybe try to make something happen.
He's going to need to... Yeah, there's another Subtlety.
Solitude, you mean. Yeah, Solitude, really strong here.
Yes, that was correct. Subtlety is the blue one, but yes, Solitude getting rid of that Pure Steel Paladin. Looks like he's running out of options here. It looks like this Yorion player is going to get there. And that was hard cast, so it looks like it stays in play.
Everybody thought Grief was going to be the best one, but I don't know. Solitude putting in some work.
And you see,
he can just beat him down with this stuff.
We can see on the monitors here, but you can see on the page, he just keeps adding life and adding life every time he plays those lands. It's just going to be real hard. It's infect or bust now.
He's already back up to 17.
Yeah,
That's crazy.
Like I said, it's infect or bust for this Hammer Time player, and so he's really got to be looking at what are my options? How do I make that happen?
Well, what's the life from the Solitude put his opponent back to 20. So Ethan decides to fetch down to 16. And I'm wondering at this point, he doesn't really have any big over-the-top
Well, now he gets
wins.
that 4 mana from Omnath, so I think this puts him in range to both put and then cast Yorion into his hand. And then he blinks everything, exiles another creature, draws 2 cards, gains another life, potentially off of Omnath.
No, he'd draw 3 cards?
Yeah, he would draw 3 cards,
I can't
he would
remember.
exile another creature.
Does it enter or do you sack it?
It's when it enters, because he's been playing it off.
That's right, that's right.
Oh, this is what you like to see. He's got a Teferi, and it looks like an expedition map.
No, sorry, it's not. I think it's called it's not Abundant Harvest. That's the sorcery. I'm trying to remember the name of this card, but Doesn't matter. Turns out the
Hammer Time saw the writing on the wall.
yeah, missing the
scooped
right
him
payoff
up.
cards is not quite good enough. But back here at the booth, we're going to go ahead and pull deck list so we can check out the sideboards of these players, and we'll be right back checking out what we think their sideboard plan might be. Draw 3 cards. He's going to kill one of my creatures. This is bad. So
Yeah.
at this point, he saw the writing on the wall. He didn't like get attacked to death, but he's just like, yeah, I can't win this.
Yeah.
And that's kind of what happened with Affinity back in the day. You know, you would have all your 0 mana 0/2s and 1/1s and like really small creatures, but you would use a Ravager or a Cranial Plating to like pay off the going wide and having no cards in hand. And even though the cards are different, that's similar to the strategy of Hammer Time. You have your hammer, you have something else like that, and the Yorion player just is full of high value cards and just dealt with the threats.
So looking at the Yorion player's deck, I really like these Engineer Explosives. He only plays 2 in an 80 card deck. That's a little weird, but they could come in. They could be a huge issue. Like you could easily set those on 1 or 2 and just take out your opponent's entire board. The Endurance, not so much. I'm not thinking that. Mystical Dispute, not really going to be a big card. I think this Engineer Explosives is going to be his play. He might bring in Emrakul if he thinks he can just outrace and ramp, but I'm not optimistic.
So Veil Summon Emrakul, probably not really what you want to be doing. Flush the Storm, probably not. Yeah, there's not a lot of options here, but it turns out 80 cards in your deck means you have a lot of different cards to use. Now, Blossoming Claim, I mean, it gains life, but the hexproof just doesn't seem all that useful.
Now, for the Hammer Time player, he's got some Thoughtseize, he's got Prismatic Ending, Soul Guide Lantern. He's got a lot of tools that he can use to just try to, like, value into the game. Just, like, slow his opponent down, keep him from developing.
It's interesting, though. I think it's a little better, but both of these players' sideboards aren't super optimal. I mean, Thoughtseize is really the only card I'm seeing here that's, like, super good. All of the, like, Prismatic Ending, there's not a lot of creature. I mean, I guess they can hit Abundant Growth, but that seems kind of bad.
Yeah, it could just be that these players didn't really anticipate this matchup as much, or they chose not to sideboard for this matchup on both sides. And it's going to be interesting to see. If it continues to go like it's going, though, that does look like it favors the Yorion player because, you know, he's got enough juice. He can just blunt your attack and just outlast you, and then now he's drawing cards, gaining life, and you're just sitting there with no cards in hand and some really awkward 1/2s.
So Matthew just mulligan here. How do you feel about mulliganing when you play an 80-card deck?
I mean, I think what you're going to see with the 80 card decks and like kind of looking over the list, the important cards are 4-ofs. Every other card is kind of like 1-ofs with toolbox options. So you can have some inconsistent hands with that, but it also means like when you draw your good stuff pretty much as you think. And 60 and 80, like I said, it's about 30% more cards. So it's like every third card you'd see a different card than you normally would as far as consistency goes. So it's not going to be that big of a deal.
It looks like he likes his hand. He might be a little heavy on lands, but he's got Ice Fang. He's got 2 good 2-drops.
Yeah, he's got that Ice Fang. He's got Ring and 6.
Colors. I can't tell what the other card is, but he's got plenty of lands, so he's going to bottom one of them. Especially with that Ren and 6, can just keep the lands coming.
Yeah, I mean, especially if you can like use Ren and 6 to ping key creatures if they have a slow clock on you, it's going to be a bad day.
I'm trying to see what are some spicy things he could be doing here. There's really no just big over the top win. There's no like scape shift into or bring light to scape shift, nothing like that.
Okay, looks like Matthew
we are
starts with
beginning.
yeah.
I would say Omnath is his strongest power card.
Springleaf Midnight into Sigarda's aid. You love to see it. It almost makes that Springleaf drum feel almost like a Mox because you just paid 1 for it and your creature wasn't going to attack anyway.
Yeah, it'll definitely give him 3 mana on turn number 2, but he may not be able to do that and attack. So if he can just naturally draw a hammer, that'll help him a lot.
Yeah, I mean
he just wants to get the game over fast. The longer the game goes, the more it's going to favor the 80 card deck player.
Yeah, the best tutor is a good top deck, so ripping that hammer off the top and just coming in for 11 would be what he'd want to do.
So I think his hand is another Sigarda's Aid. I think I saw Stoneforge Mystic. I'm not certain. I didn't get a good look. He's pretty quick at that flicker. Something I'm still working on getting better at. Oh, Prismatic Ending does buy him time, but if it turns out to be another Sigarda's Aid, that might just pay off.
Yeah, that's what you call tempo play, right? Like he can
Order.
replay the Sigarda's Aid, but it takes more of his mana, more of his
Look
time.
at that white border Ornithopter. That's a lot of respect.
Yeah. All right, we got Stoneforge Mystic coming out. You know it's coming. It's going to be.
If he gets Hammer here, that
hammer
really
time.
telegraphs another Sigarda's Aid, I think, because
not necessarily.
Plating here would be pretty decent because I mean Hammer's just going to sit in your hand otherwise, right?
Well, he clearly has Metalcraft, so he could be trying to head fake him into thinking, oh, he's got the Pure Steel Paladin. I'll just be able to get rid of it before he can equip.
Ooh, Solitude. That's a good pickup. Does he have another white card, though? I think he has Teferi. And he has Omnath. So Omnath is a white card.
It is.
And a blue card.
As it turns out.
And a red card. So if I'm... having the Solitude is going to make me feel better. I'd personally rather not pitch my Omnath, knowing that Omnath is my best way to win. Ice Fang Quaddle blocks, but his mana is not very good for an Ice Fang Quaddle here. Sacred Foundry does not cast Ice Fang Quaddle.
As it turns out, it doesn't. And that's part of his plan, though. He fetched it on purpose. He was thinking ahead. I'm getting the Sacred Foundry. I mean, he could have gotten probably the blue-white land.
Yeah, that's true. The Ice Fang was in his opening hand. But it's not going to be anywhere near... it's not going to be anywhere near having Death Touch, to be honest. With 0 snow permanents in play.
Really thinking about... He's probably going for Wrenn and 6 here, get back one of his fetches, or ping the Midnight down. Because that's one less power he has to deal with. But I don't really hate the Orion's position here. I don't really see
there's no payoff card yet. That
hammer...
hammer...
Well, he's got that Sigarda 8 and the hammer.
Yeah.
But that's not going to kill him.
Does he have a Sigarda? I think he does, but I can't get a good look.
Oh, chooses to get back a land, making his land drops.
Yeah, there's already more than one attacker for the hammer, so there's really no point.
This is actually a really bad spot because you're already down on cards.
Oh, there it is.
And,
that's scary. So, let's see. Ethan's at 15. Matthew's at 17. And that's definitely a 2-turn clock as it is. But the Solitude can just brick this whole plan.
I'm a little curious as to why he attacked with the Ornithopter and didn't use it for Springleaf Drum. I get attacking first and then doing the hammer later, but attacking with the Ornithopter, I'm not sure what he's telegraphing there. He doesn't have another land.
Yeah, that's a good point. Being declared an attacker, no mana, doesn't represent anything I can think of, at least.
Yeah, I'm not familiar with any 0 mana artifact flash creatures, unfortunately. All right. Ethan is thinking.
Solitude just doing a lot of work. Just knowing that you have that, okay, I can at least do that and survive.
Esper Sentinel.
Yeah, he needs to find lands.
This will help him get some of that card advantage back. Decides to attack with the Ornithopter again. He can definitely use the Esper Sentinel to put the hammer in play.
I really like how Hammer Time evolved from being just one of those donation bonus league decks to being a top contender with just a few cards from the new set.
I mean, it's not that complicated of a formula. When you can hit for big damage really fast, usually there's going to be a form of that deck that's going to be good.
The problem with it, the formula for Hammer was around, but the new cards gave it the consistency if you didn't get Hammer. It gave you extra things to do, especially Urza Saga. There's a Saga, the engineer that digs cards into your deck that lets you play other equipment and not be hosed.
All right, look at that. We're looking at 2 mana card. Oh, there comes the Ice Fang.
So having the extra blocker is perfect. Solitude is going to be your like insurance policy in case something goes wrong.
All right, yep, there it is. Stop hammer time.
But the problem is hammer time is going to be stopped first because when the target of the equip, he's got that solitude, so you're not going to be gaining no 11 or 10 life.
Yeah.
You're going to gain 0, and you're just going to have this useless hammer in play.
Yep.
And taking 1 or 2 damage a turn isn't going to win a game. Well, Ethan is at 9.
Did you see how fast he just like basically traded off his board and is basically at no threat at this point? And
yeah, just killing that Sentinel.
Killing the Sentinel. Don't want to give him cards.
And he doesn't get to draw a card off the Solitude because it's a creature. It only triggers off non-creatures.
Yeah, those pitch elementals doing work. They also can't be force negation. They're just really good.
Yeah, no, the pitch elementals, honestly, might have been the biggest power increase of a like cycle printed since I don't even know. I guess since the original Forces.
Now,
so Modern Horizons
what you're seeing here though is
power.
like he did have the answers, but that was a potentially lethal attack. You know, he was at 10. So that hammer connecting would have been game over. So it's going to be interesting.
He's at 8 right now, but
with
one hammer attack, it's just he's dead.
All right, this expressive iteration. Probably he's going to put this Omnath in his hand and then take a land.
Is that a lightning bolt? I couldn't tell.
Yeah. He's going to play land or choose not to play land. Yep.
Yeah, it looks like it was.
Oh, finds a second land drop.
Okay, so
now we got cranial plating.
I think that's a Pure Steel Paladin.
And a Pure Steel Paladin.
Problem is he can't play both, so he's going to have to take a turn off. I think you need to play the Pure Steel first.
Yeah, right? I mean, attack for 1, and there's an Ice Fang.
Ice Fang does not have Death Touch.
Not yet.
This is just a fog. No. Yeah, he's like, I only got 2 betas. You have to have 4, right?
3, I believe. Yeah.
Is it 3 other? I think it's 3 other.
Yeah,
He counts as a snow permanent, but you have to have 3 other snow permanents. Okay.
All right. Here comes the Omnath, followed by that land.
The life cushion is good because it means he's not 1 hit from death. Oh, no, but he does. Oh, he does have land. Okay. So this is going to put him to 12. So a hammer on pretty much all of the creatures in this deck, except for, I guess, Pure Steel Paladin, will not be a lethal attack.
Omnath's just doing so much work in this tournament. From the Elementals list to the Yorion list, there's so many plays where, yeah, sure, I'll play a land, gain 4 life. I'll play a land, get 4 more mana.
He was able to instep flash in the equipment.
Yep, that's Sigarda's Aid doing work.
He doesn't get to draw the card in the sequence, but now he can 0 mana equip and have a massive attack, but he'll just chump block. I think the fact that Omnath draws a card, he doesn't go down on cards, he can chump block. But honestly, as it stands, I don't think he has an answer. Oh, now he does.
Yeah.
So what do you bounce here? Do you bounce the stone? I mean, there's no good answer.
Well,
actually.
I can't tell if he has a fetch land or not. He can definitely get one off of the Renin 6, but what you could easily do, once you have Ice Fang Quaddle active, all you got to do, you bounce the Pure Steel Paladin, and then you flash in the Quaddle, and then you just block, and then they're in a bad place. You know he's got no cards in hand. That's probably what I would do. I would just get a land back with Renin 6. I would fetch a Snow Basic, and then I would bounce the Pure Steel Paladin.
No, wait. So he minus to kill the Pure Steel Paladin.
That's also a decent play.
It takes all his mana, though. He could have played Omnath. No, he doesn't have a fetch land already in his hand. Yeah, he couldn't do both.
Okay, Abundant Growth, draw a card, get another Renin 6.
No, you cannot cast Renin 6 with Basic Island.
Fortunately, that is true.
But he has the quad.
Land for turn.
Is that a Wooded Foothills? I can't tell.
Abundant
No,
Growth.
I think it's Stomping Ground. No, I think it is Wooded Foothills. So he had the fetch land. He could have done all this and have a Omnath in play. Or Or does he have an Omnath in his hand? I actually don't think he does.
No, I still would have liked the Teferi Quaddle play a little bit better. When you know your opponent's top decking, I'm not sure what top deck he was playing around there. I mean, he could have easily had a Teferi on board and killed both of his creatures, or taken both of his creatures off the board. I guess if you bounce the Pure Steel Paladin, he could just replay it and then re-equip, and that's a bad. So maybe you...
So now the Quaddle has Death Touch, so he's going to be able to flash it in, trade with the Stoneforge, and honestly, I think that might be the game.
He's not even going to flash. He's just going to play it. Be like, here is my snake. What are you going to do about it? And this is actually kind of a risky play because...
Okay, this gives trample.
Yes.
So at least he'll get a big hit in. Actually, that's enough.
And
because he's only at 11. He's only at 11 with the with that cranial plating. That's going to be lethal. The trample will kill him.
Yeah.
Okay, so it looks like we're going to go to a game number 3. So back here at the booth, I don't really foresee any differences in sideboarding between play draw. So they're probably just going to maybe look at the sideboard, shuffle up, and get back to the game. So we're going to give them a few minutes to do that, and we'll be right back after this break.
Right, we are back.
In
game 3.
Our Yorion player is going to be on the play, and that's good.
Gives him that tempo advantage.
The best card in the matchup for him to have at most times is either Solitude or Ice Fang. It just kind of depends, but the fact that Solitude is 0 mana, it's just insane. Like, that card is amazing.
Yeah, I mean, we saw in last game, I guess the card he should have played around was that Shadow Spear off the top, but I still thought he was in a good position. His opponent was top decking. He had the answers in his hand, and, you know, sometimes you get them, sometimes you get got.
It does show that it's definitely a good top tier deck, but Hammer Time can be really fragile. Like, if the pieces don't come together perfectly right a lot of the time, and you just fall apart and die.
Yeah. What's interesting, we haven't seen an actual Yorion casted yet, so that'll be interesting if we can get that in this game.
Yeah, like a Yorion deck. This Yorion deck is just value. It's just like high card quality, many different cards, go late, stop what you're doing.
Yeah, I mean, you can almost think about it as like a 5-color control deck that just has a really good payoff card.
Yeah, I think it might... Is there any black in it? Let me check real quick. It might just be a 4-color deck.
Could be.
It's like a 4-color Omnath Yorion deck.
Looks like we got a Thoughtseize turn 1 coming out of Matthew. I'm going to say he's taking that Fury because that's something that can really mess up his early game.
Yeah. Sometimes Ren 6 is also bad, but there's 2 of them. So, yeah, you just got to take that Fury. Luckily, this hand is actually not like amazing because he can't play any of his red spells. Okay, now he can play his red
until he draws a fetch land, and now everything is good. So we're probably going to see an expressive iteration on 2 since he's not pressuring him at all. This just lets him filter and find those answers.
I'm not a big fan of expressive iteration on 2, but you should use your mana.
Yeah, I mean, what else are you going to do here? Yeah. I mean, you need an answer to what he's going to end up doing.
He kept that hand literally on the back of Fury, and then it gets Thoughtseize, and then top deck the mountain, get wrecked.
That's definitely possible. Keeping the Renin 6, the duplicate Renin 6, probably to pitch to Fury does give that indication. I still don't know if I say it's kept off the back of Fury. But I actually am going to mention I don't like the Thoughtseize turn 1 as a play into this deck because you need to be doing something turn 1. You need to be putting power on the board. You need to be shortening the time it takes for you to get that lethal attack set up. Taking a whole turn off to Thoughtseize we're going to see that like it's costing him already. He's got this active Wrenn and 6. He's got an Expressive in his hand if he wants to dig for an answer. It's just, I don't like that play. I don't think the tempo loss is worth it in this kind of a matchup anyway.
Yeah, I mean, it looks like his hand didn't have the fast hammer, hammer game plan, but I think he had the Esper Sentinel. So he could have gotten a card off this Wrenn and 6, but Wrenn and 6 probably would have just taken out the Esper Sentinel.
Well, not only that necessarily, but he could have also potentially had bigger golems off of this Urza Saga coming up.
Yeah, that's true.
All right, resolving this Expressive iteration. Looks like we're going to have that Prismatic ending for the Sigarda's Aid.
Oh, man, so good. So, Ethan fetching down to, he's at 16 right now, I think. He shocked turn. No, he didn't shock turn 1. He fetched turn 1.
Probably getting a dual land that taps for white.
Or turn 2, but yeah. He's definitely getting white mana. Might as well just take it out now, right?
Yeah, for sure. There it is.
Just because it's also just efficient card, sequencing. He doesn't go down on the card.
Gets that land back. You're seeing this Wrenn and 6 do work because he's just going to hit land drops on time.
You cannot let this Wrenn and 6 ultimate, though. Absolutely can't, because he's just going to loop. He can just loop his Prismatic ending on every single permanent.
Yeah, that's not where you want to be.
Actually, hang on just a second. I didn't see it because they may have said it verbally. But doesn't he have
Flourish? Yeah.
Yeah. I don't see it on screen, but they probably just verbally announced it. Or it's revealed and not on the camera, but Omnath coming down here pretty strong.
Wrenn and 6.
I'm not going to lie, it's not looking good for our hammer player here.
Got his Golem. Now he gets to go search. Is he going to make another Golem?
Well, let's see. He's
trying to get
some
hammer, pressure,
but no aid.
Yep, he's going to make another Golem.
He's setting up for the long game.
Yeah.
So what do you get here? Do you get Shadow Spear? Do you get Springleaf Drum?
Honestly, Shadow Spear is not a bad idea, but Pithing Needle.
So what do you name? Do you name Scalding Tarn? Do you name Wrenn and 6? He has 2 Wrenn and 6 in his hand.
Yeah, I mean, he doesn't have to name Wrenn and 6, but that's what I would do in this board state.
Wrenn and 6 is already at 6 loyalty.
Because being able to do those fetches every turn is going to push him way ahead. We could see a Yorion next turn. It's not really good, but I'm saying he'd have that much mana because of the Wrenn and 6 plus the Omnath. It's just too much of a value engine. Now, they're not nice enough to put those little written tokens on so we actually know what happened, but it looks like we're coming in for 4. You also got to think those Pithing Needles grow the Golems as well, so...
Yeah.
He's just going to take it because, I mean, that's just what? 1 land drop?
Yeah, it puts him to 15. I'm sorry, 12. Yeah, he's at 15.
Puts him to 12, but he is going to get that 4 life back. He's going to play that Scalding Tarn in his hand. He's going to trigger Omnath.
Yeah, he's going to have a crazy turn. I think he might have a Solitude in his hand.
And he's going to fetch. He's going to get the bonus mana from Omnath.
So if you're playing the Yorion deck right now, what's your priority? Is your priority to stabilize the board and just out quality? Is the board the more important thing? You don't want to let those golems get to 5/5 or bigger?
Well, we're seeing from the sideboard plans from the Hammer Time player, he probably doesn't have a lot of removal. Whatever removal he may have been playing outside of Prismatic Ending, he probably sided out. So he probably really doesn't have a great answer to this Omnath, except making a huge guy and that you have to block.
Oh, actually, yeah. I think I like this play. You don't want to give him more cards. You want to run him out of cards. You want to like that's how he won his first game.
And he's going to ephemerate it to exile one of the golems, shrinking the other one all the way down to a 2. Now that guy can't really attack at all, and he's going to bolt.
Look at nice efficiency.
Disrespect, just chaining perfectly so that he can just get max value.
Taking out the Sentinel too.
And now he really has this choice because that Ephemerate's sitting there, going to rebound next turn. He can ephemerate his Omnath to draw cards, or he can ephemerate his Solitude to exile another creature if he plays.
Ephemerate. So, it's crazy how just rebound makes an existing card actually like constructed playable.
Yeah, I've heard card advantage is good. Getting to use a card twice, pretty good as it turns out.
Yeah,
flashback, rebound.
These elementals are really what makes it see play.
And he scoops it up, yes. And this is what I expected. The Omnath deck is just too value, too much, too fast.
Yeah, it's definitely good. So back here at the booth, we were checking through some of the deck lists here, and a lot of the Yorion decks play not escape ship necessarily, but like a bring to light package. And he's often like, you know what? No, I just want as many high quality cards as I can get. And in a field like this, I can see that working out. 80 cards is difficult to manage.
Well, what's ironic, though, is you were mentioning with the Bring to Light package, they can slide into that Valakut plan real easy. They just need one Valakut, one Scape Shift to the side, and they can just get people on 7 or 8
Possibly,
lands.
yeah. Usually you probably want to have some of those Dryads, but it's not necessary. But congratulations to him to making the finals. We'll be right back setting up that finals match for you. We are at the Pro Sport Accessories TCG Weekend, Modern 20k. Ethan DeLuna, you just made the finals. Congratulations. I love your deck choice. You're playing what I call Yorion good stuff.
Yeah.
What do you like to call it?
Just for Yorion value, basically.
Value.
Yeah, just value.
I like your decision not to play. No, Bring the Light. You don't need to know that.
No.
We're playing good cards.
Just good cards.
So the entire deck is good cards, but it is kind of constructed around the namesake, Yorion. Why don't you tell me about your decision to go this direction?
I saw that the best deck, as far as everyone was playing, was blue-white control. And then so I was like, let's just go longer than blue-white control, and that's just going with Spreading Seas, Abundant Growths, and then just getting to a turn where I can just play Yorion by itself and then just blinker all of the Abundant Growths, Spreading Seas, and draw more cards and just outvalue them.
Yeah, and one of the things I've kind of been paying attention as I watched your games is this package up here, the Elementals and the Ephemerates. Why don't you tell me a little bit about just how, dare I say, overpowered this is?
They should not have printed this card called Ephemerate. It is insane. Like, literally with Solitude, Fury, Ephemerate, just 8 damage, just kill, especially with the hammer that we saw last match.
Yeah.
I could just tap out and just hold up with Solitude and just hope not to die.
Yeah, and even if you don't get the Ephemerate, they're just so good on their own, and then Yorion comes down, resets them again, and just decimate. Like, you don't even need board wipes. Those are your board wipes.
Yeah.
It's pretty powerful. Now, I've noticed you have a pretty good set of removal up here, definitely lots of lands, but tell me about your decision to play Spreading Seas. I know there's a lot of Valakut out there, but tell me what else you're doing with it. You're killing what, Urza Sagas?
Urza Sagas, starting to slow down blue-white with their Castle Vantress, Celestial Colonnades.
Well, that is grind town. If you're Spreading Seasing at Castle Vantress, you are no respect.
No.
No respect. So, in your sideboard here, why don't you tell me a little bit about the decision to play this Emrakul? Is this just for blue-white, or are there other things you're wanting to do with it?
Oh, the Emrakul's just for blue-white. Just
Wow.
to take over their turn, try to pitch one of their Supreme Verdicts that they're holding up for my Elementals when I have 2 down. And it just, cast trigger is just insane, taking over someone's turn and going crazy with it.
Well, I definitely like the list. The fact that you're playing a single copy of Emrakul in an 80-card deck to beat one matchup, you got to say, blue-white, you're not winning this tournament. And it must have paid off because you played quite a few of them, didn't you?
Yeah, no, 6 rounds, it's just blue-white, and I casted this guy about 4 times.
Wow, that's quite awesome. The fact that you found it that many times is impressive me. Well, I like the deck a lot. This is, maybe you wouldn't expect to see this in the format of like very efficient 1-drop Ragavans, but hey, if it grinds and it gets the game done, I like it. I like the choice. Well, hey Ethan, it was nice to meet you. Congratulations on the finals, and we'll see you in the coverage for the finals.